Wominjeka everyone, Wominjeka meaning welcome. My name is Auntie Julianne and I'm an elder of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, and in recognition of doing my welcome to country, I'd like to pay my respects to my elders past, present, future and any elders that were here today, and I would also like to welcome you all here today. The Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung tribe consists of 3 families, the Nevins, the Terricks and the Wandins, and I'm part of the Nevin family. The 3 families all descend from one woman called Annie Bharat, which makes us one big family. Annie Bharat is the youngest sister of William Bharat, a pioneer for Aboriginal people in the 19th century, fighting for equality and land rights. I'm here today to welcome you all to the land of my ancestors. We call the land within our tribal boundaries our country. The Kulin Nation, Kulin meaning man, is made up of 5 groups. They are the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung, Boonwurrung, Tanarong, Wathaurong and Dja Dja Wurrung. And to give you an outline of the Wurundjeri country and the area we cover. Wurundjeri country extends from north to the Great Dividing Range, east to Mount Baw Baw, south to the Morley Creek and west to the Werribee River. We cover a diverse range of land from the mountains to the beach and everything in between. Many thousands of years ago, if an Aboriginal person from another tribe wanted to cross our boundary, they would have to sit at the boundary and wait for the Narragadah, which is the headman, or an elder to come past to give permission to cross. Traditional Aboriginal culture was highly territorial, and visitors risked a violent reprisal for crossing a tribal or clan boundary without this permission, and this is how a welcome to country originated in our culture. Traditionally, being welcomed onto country meant you respected Bunjil's law. Bunjil the wedge-tailed eagle is our creator, and Wah the crow is our protector. And as long as you looked after the country, you had access to our waterways and our land resources. And when you enter our country, we ask that you respect our resources, our fauna, flora and water, as they are very special to us. And when you are ready to leave, we ask that you leave it the way you found it.
Welcome to the Council meeting. I'm Councillor Piers Tyson, Mayor of Moonee Valley City Council. We aim to get started every second Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. However, sometimes there are some delays behind the scenes that we need to work through, and we appreciate your patience. You can have a look at our agenda online for all the issues that we'll be talking about tonight, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks. So every second Tuesday we work through our council agenda, and what that means is working through things from procedural, day-to-day issues, financial reports, all the way up to the most important things in Moonee Valley, in Victoria or in Australia. And councillors can put up alternatives to that, can put up our staff officers' recommendation, and we can debate that and vote yes or no at the end of the day. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Council meeting of the 9th of May 2023, which I now declare open. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to members of the public gallery who have joined us tonight, as well as those watching from home on the internet. As well as being live streamed, the video recording of this meeting will also be available on our website, so attendees in the gallery are advised their presence may be recorded, and we appreciate everyone's patience before we start tonight. I also ask that mobile phones be switched to silent mode during the meeting, and a reminder as well to the public in the gallery that under Governance Rule 75.1, personal video and audio recording in the chamber of the meeting is not allowed. On behalf of Moonee Valley City Council, I respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and pay respects to their spirits, ancestors, community members and elders past, present and emerging. We also extend this respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Item 2 on the agenda is apologies and leave of absence. I have received a leave of absence request from Councillor Hodgson. Councillors, can I please have a mover and seconder that Council grant Councillor Hodgson a leave of absence for the period of the 9th of May to the 19th of June 2023 inclusive. That is moved Councillor Sypek, seconded Councillor Bedio. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. We now move on to item 3, confirmation of minutes. Can I please have a mover and seconder that the minutes from the council meetings held on Thursday, so the council meeting held on Thursday the 27th of April 2023 be confirmed? Moved Councillor Sypek, seconded Councillor Byrne. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Item 4 is declarations of conflict of interest. Does any councillor have a conflict of interest in any item on the agenda this evening? Councillor Byrne.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to declare a material conflict of interest on item 9.2 on the agenda for reasons disclosed to the CEO in writing prior to the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Are there any others? Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to declare a material conflict of interest for item 9.1 and written notice with reasons has been provided to the CEO in accordance with Governance Rule 2.2. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any others? Councillor Nation.
Declare a conflict of interest in 9.3, reasons previously disclosed to the CEO in writing prior to the meeting. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. Are there any others? If not, we move on to item 5, presentations. Councillors, do we have any presentations this evening? Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to make a brief presentation with respect to Natalie Joyner, who sadly passed away last week, and many in the Moonee Valley community were saddened by her sudden passing. Natalie Joyner is an Essendon North resident and a life member of the Essendon Hockey Club and dedicated community benefactor. Natalie served as a volunteer at the club for more than 3 decades in multiple roles. Essendon Hockey wrote last week that players who passed through the Premier League team while she was manager for 29 years adored her and that she will be missed incredibly by so many present and past players. Community sport in Moonee Valley is built on the legacy of devotees like Natalie, and we send our heartfelt condolences to her family and many friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Are there any others? I had one brief presentation this evening. I visited the Keilor East Probus Club at Taylor's Lakes yesterday with over 100 members, and I thank them for really engaging spirited conversation about all things council. As councillors know, parking is always an issue in Moonee Valley, and our meeting was not the exception to that, and there were a lot of questions around parking and all things council, so thanks to the club for having me. We now move on to item 6, petitions and joint letters. Do we have any petitions or joint letters? Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I received a petition, then Council has also received a petition signed by 224 local residents surrounding J.H. Allen Reserve, objecting to the proposed permanent lighting of J.H. Allen Reserve sports infrastructure for the use of night training and matches on a minimum of 4 to 5 evenings per week until 10 p.m. They also object to the acquisition of the Community Park Oval for the proposed installation of a synthetic grass soccer oval. This is due to, but not limited to, player, spectator, traffic noise, brightness, impact on the bird life and the removal of the current cricket pitch, rotunda, trees, park benches that are enjoyed by local residents, visitors and local junior cricket teams.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. In accordance with Governance Rule 62.4, I refer the petition to the CEO for consideration. Are there any other petitions or joint letters? Councillor Byrne.
Thank you, Mayor. I've received a petition. So, council's received a petition signed by 59 residents of Grandview Road, Niddrie, regarding Grandview Road parking and traffic issues. The petition seeks the resumption of previous parking instructions and a review of the extensive use of the road, Grandview Road, as a thoroughfare.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. In accordance with Governance Rule 62.4, I also refer that petition to the CEO for consideration. Are there any other petitions or joint letters? Thank you. I might ask our comms team just whether they could check Councillor Byrne's microphone level in the chamber, just whether that could be lifted slightly if possible. Thank you. We now move on to item 7, public question time, and we've received 2 questions this evening. Both are from Peter Robinson, who will not be joining us this evening. So on behalf of Peter, in reference to a statement made recently that MV Municipality is to formally support the yes vote in the upcoming referendum, can it be made clear that this announcement was made by MV councillors only, with no formal opinion or vote sought or done within the MV council? In future, if councillors want to be involved in non-council issues, can it be made extra clear that these announcements are the opinions of councillors only and not that of ratepayers and residents? I refer to the CEO, Helen Swee, to respond. CEO.
Thank you. Susan May. Thank you, Peter. At the council meeting on 31st of January 2023, council unanimously resolved to A, support an alteration to the Australian Constitution that establishes the principle of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice to Parliament. B, actively engage with Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung elders on how council can support the aspirations for the voice to Parliament and how to best facilitate community conversations and promote understanding of the upcoming referendum. And C, request the Chief Executive Officer to prepare a report as soon as possible on options for Moonee Valley City Council to support efforts for the constitutional change, including but not limited to advocacy, communications, and in-kind and/or financial support to inform our community on the upcoming referendum. It should be noted that this is a council decision. As a result, a report is being prepared to come to council in the coming weeks, detailing the options available based on the endorsed council resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Peter's second question, in his words, is if the new Keilor East outdoor heated pool is to have its operational hours reduced significantly over the non-summer months again, can the ratepayers and members firstly be consulted over this decision and a full explanation be given as to why this new heated pool will be largely closed? I refer to the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Peter. Susan Mayor. The new aquatic and fitness facilities at the Keilor East Nature Centre were completed in October 2021. In May 2022, Council resolved to extend the operation and heating of the outdoor pool for a fixed 12-month trial period. Council will consider a report on the trial ahead of the adoption of the Council budget in June. Data on visitation, costs, and community satisfaction will be provided as part of that report. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. We now move on to item 8, which is reports from delegates. Councillors, are there any reports on your responsibilities as delegates? If not, we now move on to item 9, reports, and report 9.1 is resolving conflict of interest items prior to the consideration of the draft budget 2023/24 and Council Plan and Health Plan Initiatives 2023-24, Councillor Rose Isa. And I note that Councillor Isa has declared a conflict of interest on this item and is leaving the chamber. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation, please.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bedio. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the motion?
I will, thank you, Mayor. In order for all councillors to participate in the draft budget decision-making process in accordance with Local Government in brackets Governance and Integrity Regulation 2020, as a council we need to resolve individual councillors' conflict of interest by separating those items for consideration prior to the adoption of the draft budget 2023/24 report and the draft council plan and health plan initiatives 2023/24. Councillor Rose Isa has declared a general conflict of interest in relation to the draft budget 2023/24 on items namely the Clock Tower Centre renewal and improvement item and the local area traffic management studies and implementation, which totals $75,000 and $273,000 respectively for consideration by councillors. For the draft council plan and health plan initiatives for 2023/24, the item Councillor Isa has declared a conflict of interest is the local area traffic management initiatives across the municipality, including in Airport West and Travancore. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Bedio, would you like to speak to the motion? No? Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? If not, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. We'll now ask Councillor Isa to return to the chamber. And Councillor Byrne has declared a conflict on the following item.
Thank you, Mayor. As per the governance rules, I earlier declared a material conflict of interest on item 9.2, so I'll step out of the chamber now.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Item 9.2 is resolving conflict of interest items prior to the consideration of the draft budget 2023/24 and Council Plan and Health Plan Initiatives 2023-24, Councillor Samantha Byrne. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Adams.
I'll move the officer's recommendation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Bedio. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the motion?
I will. Similar to the previous motion, in order for all councillors to participate in the draft budget decision-making process, as a council we need to resolve individual councillors' conflict of interest by separating those items for consideration prior to adoption of the draft budget and the draft council plan and health plan initiatives. Councillor Samantha Byrne has declared a general conflict of interest in relation to the draft budget 23/24 on the item building renewal of Nidri Hub Neighbourhood Centre as part of buildings renewals and upgrades program valued at $30,000 for consideration by councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Bedio, would you like to... Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? If not, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. We'll now welcome Councillor Byrne back, and Councillor Nation has declared a conflict on the following item. Councillor Nation. Welcome back, Councillor Byrne. 9.3, resolving conflict of interest items prior to the consideration of the draft budget 2023/24 and Council Plan and Health Plan Initiatives 2023-24. Councillor Cam Nation. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll move the officer's recommendation, please.
Thank you. And a seconder. Councillor Bedio. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the motion?
I will. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Bedio, for seconding the motions. In order for all councillors to participate in the draft budget decision-making process, as a council, we need to resolve individual councillors' conflict of interest by separating those items for consideration prior to the adoption of the draft budget 23-24 report and the draft council plan and health plan initiatives 23-24. Councillor Cam Nation has declared a general conflict of interest in relation to the draft budget 23-24, which are the indicative works to be carried forward from the 22-23 year on the following items. $1.9 million for the design and documentation of a highball stadium in the Queen Grove precinct. $1 million for the design and documentation of relocation of existing soccer and tennis facilities in the Queen Grove precinct. $65,000 for the solar power system on Ascot Vale Leisure Centre as part of the Building Improvements Program, all for consideration by councillors in this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Bedio, would you like to speak to the motion? Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to this motion? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously, and we'll welcome Councillor Nation back to the chamber. Welcome back, Councillor Nation. We now move on to item 9.4, the draft budget 2023/24. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Adams.
I'd like to move an alternative motion, please, Mayor.
Yes.
Sorry, could I please request a quick adjournment just to clarify something?
Yep,
Thank you.
I will call a 3-minute adjournment
Just
for the sake of
1
clarifying
minute.
wording for an alternative.
Thank you.
And we'll return in 3 minutes. Welcome back to the council meeting. We are on report 9.4, draft budget 2023-24. Councillor Adams has the call to move an alternative to the officer's recommendation. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Mayor, and apologies for that. So the motion is that Council resolves to A, endorse in principle the draft budget 23-24 as per attachment 1, separately circulated, as its budget for the 23-24 financial year as required by the Local Government Act 2020. B, endorse funding allocation towards the following capital works items from rates funding and, where eligible, open space reserve, in brackets OSR, subject to budget consultation. 1, $100,000 design and feasibility of a dog park for Moonee Ponds. 2, $400,000 design and construction of all remaining elements of the Overland Reserve Master Plan. 3, $300,000 re-establish a scoreboard reserve for 23-24 financial year with the following priority. The Chris Lane Field, major scoreboard in brackets. Overland Reserve, in brackets, major scoreboard. Aberfeldy West, in brackets, minor scoreboard. Aberfeldy East, in brackets, minor scoreboard. Buckley Park Upper Oval, in brackets, minor scoreboard. Etzel Reserve, Street Reserve, in brackets, minor scoreboard. 4, $300,000, establish 2 year-round soccer pitches at the northern end of Fairbairn Park, in brackets shown as the 2 most northern soccer pitches on the Fairbairn Park Master Plan, close brackets. 5, $300,000 for lighting design and construction for Boeing Reserve Baseball Diamond. 6, $250,000 business case for Buckley Park Bowls Club upgrade. 7, $250,000 municipal-wide graffiti removal program to assist traders. 8, $250,000 Steel Creek corridor enhancement design works. 9, $120,000 for the design and construction of shade sails over playgrounds across all 3 MVCC wards. 10, $80,000 feasibility and construction of an aviation-themed playground at Centreway, Killary, subject to positioning by council. 11, $120,000 for the Moonee Ponds Activity Centre laneway improvements and upgrades. 12, $75,000 Valley Lake Playground design and construct. 13, $100,000 feasibility and design of a greyhound-only dog park. 14, $50,000 design and construction of a new, 14, $50,000 design and construction of a new slide at Montgomery Park, Essendon. 15, reallocate $150,000 from the Cricket Nets renewal program for the implementation of Montgomery Park Essendon Master Plan. 16, $50,000 Cliff Allison Reserve Master Plan. 17, $50,000 upgrades for Etzel Street Reserve and Hanson Reserve Airport West in consultation with sporting stakeholders. 18, $20,000 for Strathnave Reserve Pavilion balcony heating. C, note the following items funded through the operational budget. 1, $50,000 Dinah Parade shopping precinct landscaping and gardening works. 2, $50,000 Racecourse Road streetscape plan. 3, $35,000 Lincoln Park playscape / playground design works. 4, preliminary scoping for a future kindergarten for Moonee Ponds. 5, delivery of the arts and culture plan as per deliverable items from 23-24. D, endorse the changes of following line items in the fees and charges schedule. 1. Reduce the impound release fee - unregistered animal from $1,110 to $180.70. E. Note $1.5 million pledged by the Victorian Government for Walter Street Reserve upgrade. F. Establish a soccer infrastructure reserve by reallocating $1 million funding from the existing infrastructure reserve. G. Note that the proposed third (synthetic) cricket pitch at Cross Keys Reserve Essendon has not been included in this draft budget and will be removed from the long-term capital works program. H. Give public notice on the preparation of the draft budget 23-24 and make available for public inspection the information required by Regulation 7 and 8 of the Local Government (Planning and Reporting) Regulations 2020. I. Invite submissions in accordance with Council's Community Engagement Policy as required by Section 96 of the Local Government Act 2020. J. Hear any submissions received on the draft budget 23-24 on Thursday, 8 June 2023, commencing at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams, and please take a drink of water after that. Councillors, is everyone aware of what's been moved? Is there a seconder? Councillor Bedio. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the motion?
I will, thank you, Mayor. The draft budget is proposing to deliver an operating surplus that has been financially committed to enable the delivery of a capital works program of $49.81 million. Some of the major capital works projects include the Clifton Park Pavilion improvements, $3.1 million, Lebanon Reserve Sportsfield upgrade of $2.26 million, Strathnava Reserve Sportsfield upgrade of $830,000, redevelopment of the Ascot Vale Library of $5.12 million, Maribyrnong Park Pavilion new modular change rooms of $1.56 million, Fairbairn Park Southern Ascot Vale modular pavilion of $1.38 million, improvements to Keilor Road landscapes of $1.94 million, Rose Hill Park landscape upgrade stage 2 of $1.49 million, Overland Reserve car park upgrade of $1.28 million, planting more trees of $1 million, our food organics and garden organics FOGO bin rollout of $2.2 million, renewing local roads of $5.19 million, Sportsfield lighting upgrade and renewal of $1.28 million, pedestrian and shared path improvements of $2 million, and greenhouse gas emission reduction initiatives $350,000. The additional list of projects in this alternative is a combination of councillors' wish list items that we all would like considered by our community during the consultation process. Noting that these are over and beyond the office's recommendation, and at final budget, consideration will need to be given to keeping our budget in balance and the impact on our future capital works program to ensure its financial viability in future years. I'm particularly excited to see the business case for the Buckley Park Bowls Club upgrade, the design and construction of the new slide at Montgomery Park, as well as some implementation of the Montgomery Park Master Plan, a Cliff Allison Reserve Master Plan, lighting, design and construction of Boeing Reserve baseball diamond, the design and construction of shade sails over playgrounds across all three wards, $35,000 for the Lincoln Park Playscape Playground design works, and finally the $1 million funding to establish a soccer infrastructure reserve. I just want to make note that through this motion we are giving public notice for the draft budget to be made available for public release and community consultation. It will be made available for public exhibition at the Civic Centre and on Council's website. I'd like to acknowledge the importance of community feedback in this process. Submissions are encouraged and closed by 5 p.m. Thursday the 1st of June. We really do take on board this feedback, and so I highly encourage our community to take this opportunity to provide any feedback feedback that you have. We're also inviting public submissions to be heard on the 8th of June, commencing at 6 p.m, and I personally really value this process and look forward to hearing from our community on what projects they would like to see included. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Bedio.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Adams, for moving this motion. That's quite a long motion, but there is a lot to be excited about in this budget, and so I just wanted to lay out some of the things that I'm most excited about. So $100,000 has been allocated in this motion for the scoping and design of a much needed and highly anticipated dog park in Moonee Ponds. This is especially needed given the significant amount of high density housing in the activity centre and the lack of open space for our doggos to stretch their legs. $300,000 for 2 year-round soccer pitches at North Fairburn Park to address the shortfall as identified in the 2022 soccer strategy. Demand for soccer is surging in our community, and this infrastructure will allow for more members of the community to participate in local sports. There's $250,000 allocated to the municipal-wide graffiti program, which is a new program that's set up under this budget, which was under a lot of discussion between myself and Murnong colleagues. So thank you, Councillor Isa, for your work in this one. This has come off the back of significant community requests and feedback in relation to the growing incidences of graffiti, especially in our commercial areas. So we hope that this funding will help to support traders and as well as private owners and renters in addressing concerns around graffiti. There's $120,000 allocated for shade sales around parks. This is in response to feedback I've received from families. It's a very simple program, but something that I believe will have a big difference to the health of our community. $120,000 for improvements and upgrades to the Moonee Ponds Activities Centre laneways. This is a project I'm really excited about. So Moonee Ponds is sprawling with laneways that are unique to the area, but also the feedback from residents and traders are all around concerns about safety, in particular lighting, and the aesthetic of the laneways. And I believe that if we improve these through lighting, painting, closures, artificial turf, planter boxes or seating, the laneways will better connect the precincts of the activity centre and create a more pedestrian-friendly locality, which is in line with our Impact to 2040 local plan. The delivery of the Arts and Culture Plan, which has been in the culmination of years' work and promises to create a more lively and dynamic city with more nighttime entertainment, live music and art. Also noting the $1.5 million pledge from the state government for the Walter Street Reserve Pavilion upgrade, which is an important project off the back of the work that the Ascot Vale Panthers are doing down there, and it's something that they've been asking for and I think something they deserve based on all the hard work that they've put in down there, especially in growing female participation in sport. Preliminary scoping for a kindergarten in Moonee Ponds, something that our community has been asking for a long time, and given the surging growth in Moonee Ponds, the area desperately needs a new kindergarten facility, and it's something I'm committed to ensuring that Council delivers.
Councillor Betty, I'll extend your time by a minute.
Thank you. And it's something that I am committed to delivering in my term here in Council, and something that officers are going to be continued to scope out in this upcoming budget year. That's just the things that I've highlighted. There's many more, so I encourage residents to have a look when this, hopefully, if this gets endorsed tonight for community consultation, to get involved and contact us. Contact your local councillors for feedback. We're more than happy to listen. I also want to thank officers and councillor colleagues for what has been months and months of hard work in compiling this budget. A lot goes into putting together council budget, so I really want to extend my thank you to the officers for all their hard work, and I commend this budget to my colleagues for endorsement to community consultation.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, look, I'm very, very happy with this budget, and this is a budget that actually is going to tie up a lot of loose ends for a lot of projects. Like the Clifton Park project, a new pavilion for the Aberfeldy Football Club. It's just going to finish off the project. The master plan for Overland Reserve is just going to finish off those minor little bits and pieces that, according to the master plan, that we just haven't done. So that'll be tidied off, and we'll have a fully functional great football club and cricket club there as well. But for me, this is a bit of an emotional budget for me. I've been a part. Look, Moonee Valley has its core sporting genres. Football, basketball, soccer, tennis, cricket, the whole lot. But baseball is one that we sort of tend to just sort of, forget a little bit. And I just want to bring you back, and I wouldn't mind some extension, Mr Mayor. A young promising baseballer from the Essendon Baseball Club, a young lad called Chris Lane. He was recruited to America, and due to uncertain circumstances, he was shot and killed over there in the prime of his life. And the Essendon Baseball Club have really rallied behind the family, and we've now got a Chris Lane pitch in his name. The baseball club's been very, very good. The president, Tony Cornish, has been an absolute leader in this field. And I've also been very privileged to be a part of this project coming to fruition. We are now going to have this pitch finished. A scoreboard's going to go up on there, which is going to be fantastic. It's just going to be a jewel in Moonee Valley's crown, and it will be a forever reminder of what a wonderful sporting city we are, and how we can produce wonderful players, and it'll be just a great memory to Chris. And I just want to, like I said, for me, this is more of an emotional budget than anything else, but I look forward to it to coming to fruition, and I look forward to the day that we can open up this pitch. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. And I'll note for councillors, before we move on, I'll provide a minute extension to any councillors speaking on the substantive motion. Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mayor. So this budget is very exciting. There's a lot of big wins in this budget for our community. I'll just talk mainly about Buckley Ward initiatives. But I'm very excited to see, as Councillor Sypek just mentioned, the Aberfeldy Football Club Pavilion beginning. So we are starting that project. The indented parking around Clifton Park, which has been on the books for a number of years, has now made it into this budget, and that has been a real bugbear, the parking around that area of residents. So I'm very pleased to see that's been included. We've got a couple of sporting fields upgrades at Lebanon Reserve and Strathnaver Reserve. That is itemised in here. We've also got drainage, quite a few big projects of drainage, particularly in Essendon. And I know drainage isn't like the most popular subject to talk about, but there's been a number of projects that have been just due to unforeseen circumstances have been delayed a little bit. So I look forward to having them finalised in this budget, particularly Luluma Street, Essendon. That's been on the cards since 2018-19. I was first contacted by a resident from that street about massive issues when it rains with the street flooding. So I look forward to that getting fixed once and for all, and that's earmarked in this budget. We also have money put aside to develop or to plan and design a new play space or playground for Lincoln Park. Lincoln Park is one of our premier parks, and it's highly visible and highly visited by people from across the municipality. So I think it's certainly worthwhile to put a decent playground in. We've recently installed a magnificent playground down at Cross Keys. Lincoln Park is even more central than Cross Keys, so if we can get a great playground there, I think that would be a huge benefit to our wider community. We've also got, Councillor Adams mentioned initiatives at Montgomery Park. A new slide. My children often whinge about the slide at Montgomery Park, so that is a great initiative, Councillor Adams, to get that fixed. It's the biggest slide in our municipality, so it just needs to run a bit better than what it does now. That's probably...
an additional minute extension for Councillor
Oh
Sharp.
yeah, no, I'll be one more second, sorry. That's just a quick run through of Buckley Ward, but there's lots of winners in this draft budget, but I really am pleased to see the Soccer Infrastructure Reserve being set up, and we're doing that in this draft budget. We've got the soccer strategy, and we've been talking about soccer for a couple of years now, about making sure there was adequate pitches for the short, medium and long term, and adequate infrastructure to support extra pitches. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what we can realise through having $1 million set aside from the existing infrastructure reserve. And I very much look forward to the money allocated for the year-round soccer pitches at Fairbairn Park, which Councillor Nation has championed. So I very much look forward to seeing
Sharp, your
some...
time has expired.
It's all good, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Would any other councillor like to speak? Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Byrne?
Thanks, Mayor. I don't know how I feel about this draft budget, actually. I'm not sure whether I'm going to support it. There are a lot of really good things in this budget, and a lot of them have been spoken about. From Rosehill Ward, I do think we're getting a fair share. I think we're doing okay. It's really good to see that we've got significant money going into a lot of our parks and trails to make things more walkable. I suppose the thing that concerns me is Councillor Adams spoke about an operating surplus, but something that I think we need to be explicitly clear to the community about is we're borrowing $16 million in this budget. We're getting ourselves into a financial position of where we're getting into a lot of debt, and it's not necessarily something that I feel comfortable with. I remember sitting here before I was a councillor in 2016, and there was a big debate of whether Moonee Valley should get into debt for the first time, and it was for $5 million. And it ended up getting up, and it was to fund some very big projects, pavilion projects at the time. I look at this budget, and $16 million, whilst I agree that they're great projects, it's a lot of money to be borrowing. We're also raising rates, the maximum amount that we're allowed to. And the feedback that I've received from residents is, sure, do things, but please, we're in a cost of living crisis. Maybe now isn't the time to be doing all of these things. And the feedback I've received is that people just want their rates kept as low as they can. I think people expect an increase in their rates, but this is going to be a massive jump for a lot of people, and it really concerns me that, as Councillor Adams put it as a wish list and multiple councillors' wish lists, I'm not sure whether this is the year or whether it's actually appropriate. A lot of these projects haven't been scoped, there's no master plans, they've been plucked from anywhere. Not all of them, some of them, a lot of them have great value. I am mindful that this is a draft budget and that the community will have their say. I think it's hard for the community. If you see a draft budget, will people assume that if it's in the draft budget is going to stay there on budget night? Because I don't necessarily know whether that will be the case. So whether people should be putting in supporting submissions on things that they want, or whether there's going to be community submissions for additional things, keeping in mind that we're borrowing $16 million already, and then there's probably $2.5 million or so for added extras.
A minute extension to Councillor Byrne's time.
Thanks, Mayor. So I suppose I'm thinking long and hard about this budget. I just don't want it to bite us in the future. I don't want us to be gallivanting around saying, oh, great, look, we've got an operating surplus, and not hitting home the realities of the actual financials deep down. If this gets passed, I'm looking forward to the community feedback, and we'll see how that goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Nation.
Thanks, Mayor, and apologies, councillors, my outbox is not clearing email messages, so I think it keeps sending emails from me. Look, I'm really excited about this budget and taking on board Councillor Byrne's comments. I think in terms of a process as a council developing an annual budget, there's three inputs. There is the input from our officers, and what was presented to us in the agenda papers this evening was the officers' recommendation. Now that is their professional, unbiased recommendation of what they think in terms of capital expenditure and operational expenditure that should be put forward for the coming financial year. The amendment, the alternative, as Councillor Adams has moved, is then from councillors' discussions, projects that we would like to see in the capital budget. Now, it's not within our remit to deal with the operational budget, so that stays as per the officer's recommendation, but it is within our remit and an important part of our role as councillors to ensure that our capital works budget is a combination of both the officer's recommendation and our input as councillors. And we're representatives of the community. We spend 365, maybe 364 days of the year interacting with our community, hearing what they want and putting ideas forward to council. And what's presented in the alternative is no doubt things that we've been hearing for 12 months, 24 months. Councillor Sypek's been hearing for 15 years and it's taken time to get things in, but it's really important that we as councillors are giving our community a voice and putting projects in the budget. Now, this is a draft budget, so obviously we will hear further feedback about both the officer's recommendation and the additional alternative, and then seek the community's feedback. So this will not necessarily be our finishing position. We definitely will take on board a wide range of feedback from the community, both on capital projects, but also fees and charges and our rates. I just wanted to mention a few things that I'm really passionate about that are both in the officer's recommendation and this alternative. And I think, first of all, I just want to note one of our biggest spends, $5.1 million, is on road resurfacing and road renewal. And that's really important. One of the Insta polls I put up this week was about this, and it had such overwhelming support that either 5.1 million was about right or not enough. So I think it's really important that when we look at the core duties of a council, things like roads, we're not forgetting them. 5.1 million spend, another 2.2 million on waste, being the FOGO rollout. Again, people would say that waste is one of those key functions of a council, and we're spending 2.2 on a FOGO rollout municipal-wide.
A minute extension to Councillor Nation's time.
There are some other projects. Obviously, councillors have mentioned the 3.1 million for the Clifton Park refurb and rebuild, and also that indented parking along Afton Street that I've been whinging about for 3 years. We're also doing small things like rolling out more disability parking bays, shared paths along the Maribyrnong, replacing pram crossings and ramps, finally establishing some nice city gateway signs that recognise our traditional owners, 552,000 on play space renewal, really small projects that are really important for day-to-day functioning of our city. Finally, I'm really thrilled that there are two of my recommendations in here. The establishment of the city's first ever year-round soccer pitches, and hopefully the establishment of Victoria's first greyhound-only dog park. Two projects that I'm so passionate about, and I would love to see them get up in this draft budget. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, the budget is probably the most difficult process we go through at council, and like all aspects of democracy, it's not perfect. And so I guess what we're putting forward tonight is our best effort. It's something that we've worked on since last December, something that we've worked really hard on, and I'd like to take the opportunity to also thank officers, the many officers who have worked really hard on the budget. It's an ongoing process to try to balance a $220 million organisation, and really appreciate the work that they put in. Many of the projects that this budget contains have been talked about by colleagues. There's $5 million for the Ascot Vale Library, $3 million for sporting facilities in Murnong Ward, and $1 million for trees, $2.2 million for the FOGO rollout, $2 million for pedestrian and shared paths, including along waterways. I've recently been enjoying running along the Green Spine and really glad to see there's going to be a toilet put in at the Green Spine, even though that's not in Murnong Ward. It's a beautiful place for some public facilities. Also some planning for a new all-access playground and for the building blocks early years. On climate, I do note that the additions tonight don't specifically refer to climate action, and I know that there's lots of people who are really, for whom this is such an important issue, and myself included. I want to thank the members of the task force who've been helping us over the last 3 weekends to work out how to best spend our community carbon emissions reduction reserve on how we should spend that money. And I just want to assure the members of that group and other community members that we will be taking those recommendations, and there will be some time for us to consider how we move forward in our final budget with those recommendations. I also just want to quickly mention that I do have some concerns around the $300,000 for the soccer pitches at Fairbairn Park, because this is counter to the master plan and it's also counter to the soccer strategy, and I'm not in favour of us putting money into things that run counter to our master plans and strategies that have been out for consultation without us doing further consultation. So I note that this is a draft budget and these are going out for consultation, but I would hate to see us setting a precedent or an expectation in our community that we are going to put all this work into strategies and master plans and then abandon that work in a line in a budget.
1 minute time extension, Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. I also just want to comment that debt is a really important mechanism for us to fund infrastructure, particularly in an economic context where council rate rises have not kept pace with CPI. We've been at 1.25 and 1.75 for the past 2 financial years, where inflation's been double to triple that and still is. The rate rise of 3.5 will cost each property about $60 to $70. 1 percentage rate rise is the equivalent of $17. So I know that that is an increase on previous years, but it is a relatively small amount for each property, but accumulatively for the community we can do a lot with the combined efforts that everyone's able to hopefully be willing to make to the public coffers. Councillors have all contributed to these additions. Any councillor who didn't want to didn't have to. We're putting forward a draft tonight. It's not the final budget, and we invite submissions and feedback from the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. As there has been some dissent, I will ask Councillor Adams to close.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll just clarify Councillor Byrne's comment with regard to the operating surplus. I was very clear in my comments that the operating surplus has been financially committed to enable the delivery of our capital works program. Over the 4 years, our capital works program is absolutely overcommitted, which is why we have borrowings. It's to enable us to fund the program that we have endorsed in the first year, this year and future years. I will say that each budget and our 4-year capital works program is a collaborative effort with the organisation over several months through a series of budget briefings and detailed expert advice from our Chief Financial Officer that is rigorously discussed and worked through to ensure that we can minimise and mitigate any risks associated with Council's delivery of services and infrastructure to the community. This process is in place to ensure our draft budget is prepared in accordance with the principles of sound financial management and its long-term financial viability. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Adams, Councillor Bedio, Councillor Isa, Councillor Nation, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Sypek, Councillor Tyson. All those against? Councillor Byrne. I declare that motion carried. Thank you, councillors. We now move on to item 9.5, Council Plan and Health Plan Initiatives 2023-24. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Isa.
Thanks. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation with a small amendment.
Yep. What is your amendment?
That Council resolves to A, endorse the draft Council Plan and Health Plan initiatives for 2023-24 in brackets Year 3 for public exhibition with the following amendment to Initiative C3.1. Advocate for road safety improvements at key locations, including the Essendon North Junction and other identified dangerous crossing points, then, particularly on Mount Alexander Road, and then B, as per the officer's recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Is there a seconder? Councillor Adams. Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. The Council Plan requires an annual update of initiatives each year, and these are the initiatives against which both the organisation and the CEO performance are measured. And so these initiatives try to capture some of the key, not everything, but key things that the organisation is going to achieve in the next financial year. Some of these things have been mentioned in the budget, and some of them are funded very specifically in the Capital Works program. Others are the continued good work that the officers do to implement strategies such as the Reconciliation Plan, some of the other plans, the Disability Action Plan, and various others, net zero carbon emissions and the different goals that we have across the municipality, across the organisation. So I encourage everyone to have a look at those initiatives. There's about, I can't remember the number now actually, I think they were meant to be 25, but maybe we accidentally made it 30 or just added a few extras. The reason for the addition there is just that there have been through the chamber a number of petitions and concerns from residents across not only Murnong Ward but also other parts of the municipality about the dangers that Mount Road, our biggest arterial that runs through runs fairly centrally through Moonee Valley, and the difficulty that pedestrians have crossing the road where there aren't any pedestrian lights or any interventions there for safety. There was recently an RACV survey that released some interim results that in fact listed Mount Alexander Road as the most dangerous road in Victoria according to survey respondents. So I think that in light of community concerns that have been raised and that more public recognition of the danger that this arterial road poses to people, it's important to note that the advocacy work that we're hoping our officers can do really addresses those concerns that have been raised. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Councillor Adams. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. We now move on to item 9.6, Flemington Special Rate and Charge Declaration. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Bedio.
Thanks, Mayor. Would I be able to seek a short 3-minute adjournment just so I can recompile an amendment?
Absolutely. I will give you 7 minutes to 8:50 is when we'll return for an adjournment to compile a motion. So we'll return in 7 minutes. Welcome back to the council meeting, and we are on item 9.6, Flemington Special Rate and Charge Declaration, and Councillor Bedio has the call.
You can just withdraw.
I'll withdraw my motion, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. Would any
We started, sorry.
councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation with an alteration. I just ask if someone could read the screen while I'm reading to make sure that I've read it correctly. So the officer's recommendation then, with an amendment to point O that begins at the end of point O, to say the agreement will include, but not be limited to, the following obligations for the Chamber of Commerce. 1, the Chamber of Commerce will undertake specific marketing activities that aim to benefit businesses that reside within the boundary of the special rate and charge scheme, that include ensuring measurable feedback/data is kept in relation to activities and events that are delivered with special rate and charge funds, and second bullet point, presenting a report on an annual basis to Council that outlines an overview of financial status and marketing activities, including metrics related to value and indicating success for the business precinct and members of the rated area. 2, the Chamber of Commerce will consult all members of the rated area in writing in relation to their draft 5-year business plan to provide an opportunity for feedback for new content and directions as part of the 5-year plan. 3, if Council gives notice that it proposes to audit, either directly or through its auditors, how the Chamber of Commerce has spent the special rate and charge, it must provide all reasonable assistance to the person conducting that audit. 4, the Chamber of Commerce must maintain to the satisfaction of Council proper accounting records as to the manner in which it expends the proceeds of the special rate and charge, including declarations of conflict of interest. The Chamber of Commerce's adopted 5-year business plan, annual financial statement and annual activities plan must be made available on their website or portal for its members to access and view as required. 5, Council may, for any reason, terminate the agreement by giving 30 days notice to the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce must repay to Council within 30 days of receiving a notice of termination the balance then remaining of any unexpended monies previously paid to it, and provide to Council a final income and expenditure report as applicable to the date of such termination. And then a new point that says, request the CEO to bring a report to Council considering how best to document a communication between Council and the Chamber of Commerce, clarifying roles, responsibilities and expectations, including the provision of specialised training, seminars or events that will assist traders across the municipality to manage the rising costs to business.
Thank you, Councillor Isa.
Can I just check one thing? I think in point... I think in point 4, it should be the Chamber of Commerce must keep maintained to the satisfaction of Council.
And removing that comma?
No, just that it needed, my version said maintain, not maintained. So that's good.
So
yep,
that's
thanks.
been amended.
Yep.
As well, governance, if it can just be checked for consistency of capitalisation of 5-year business plan, as it's inconsistent as it's written down, which obviously can't be captured by reading out a motion. So if that could just be made consistent, thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bedio. Councillor Isa, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you very much to all of the traders and landowners who responded to the surveys and the consultation during the consultation period for these special charges and rates. We had the hearing to hear back from people a few weeks ago. And also thank you to the traders in Flemington who've been working so hard to have a really functional association. The amendments that I've put forward tonight are responding to some of the feedback and concerns that have been raised through the consultation process and through the Traders Association meetings that I try to get to in Flemington, that are held monthly and open to all traders in the areas. Some of those concerns were around just knowing how the money's being spent, some transparency and accountability measures, and I'd like to thank Councillor Beggio and officers for the work that we've done together to try to tighten up some of the parts of the agreement so that we can really be sure that traders can be confident in the agreements that are in place, and that the money's being well spent to really market the precinct of Flemington, which is a fabulous shopping area for everyone in Flemken. We all know how wonderful Racecourse Road and Pin Oak Crescent are. It's got an amazing array of multicultural cuisine, restaurants. It really comes alive after 5 o'clock at night, just so many beautiful places to eat. And we want to do as much as we can at Council to support the traders in the area, and hope that these additions to the agreement can really help them to market the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Councillor Bedio. Thank you. Would any councillor like to speak to the motion? Councillor Nation.
Thanks, Mayor. And look, I've probably had a long-standing view of our special rate schemes, particularly when it comes to commercial and retail properties, that I don't think that they deliver bang for buck. I think they put an onus on retail traders who already have a lot tighter margins than non-retail traders, particularly in suburban shopping strips, and that can be seen by the churn of businesses and also the vacancy rate. The scheme, two facets that probably concern me. One is the amount of work council has to do, and you can even see it through, you know, the Officers Rec Plus change is a 5-page motion, which, you know, in essence shows how much work council has to do ultimately to put this onus on, and I'm not just talking about Flemington, I'm talking about all you know, each of them, to put the onus on these businesses to pay about to recoup $70,000, which obviously is mentioned through the motion. There has been questions about if it is bang for buck or if it's being that well spent. I don't think collecting a special rate is necessarily core business of council. I think it does tie up officers' time that could be better spent supporting traders associations or suburban shopping strips that are organically grown, like Essendon North traders. I think there was also probably through the process, as seen on page 4 of the attachment, the support for special rate schemes and charges. Flemington, yes, 2.5%, no 12%, no survey response 85%. And it was made clear in those letters that the scheme would not be renewed if more than 50% of rateable properties objected. So obviously not more than 50% of rateable properties objected, but there was only 2.5 support yes, 12% support for no. There are some trade associations that are not part of a special rate scheme, and I raise it like Essendon North. It's grown organically, it's not putting an onus on the businesses, and potentially that gives them more buy-in. I guess if I was a retail trader in a suburban shopping strip, and I was paying, you know, some properties are paying $4,000 in this of extra rates under this rate scheme, I'd probably say, I've paid my $4,000, now you go and do it, and it therefore potentially means that they don't grow organically. So yeah, I won't support any of them tonight, and I'm just not comfortable putting an extra onus on businesses when times are already tough.
Your time has expired. Do you require
Thank you. No, that's
thank
fine.
you. Would any other councillor like to speak? As there has been dissent, I will ask whether Councillor Isa would like a right of reply.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd just like to make a few points quickly. In the business plan for Flemington, you might see that, or councillors might see that, the bulk of Flemington precinct is cafes, restaurants, pubs, food and groceries. I take the point around sometimes, though, the businesses that tend to benefit most from the marketing, and the point I'm making is that, in fact, in Flemington, the bulk of the traders in the area do fall into those sorts of categories that can really benefit from that marketing. I attend, as I said, most of the monthly meetings of the Traders Association and really welcome any councillors to come and attend those meetings. They're very well attended by traders, and we've just got some new members to the group who are bringing some new points of view about how the money can best be spent to support the different types of businesses. The money in Flemington has gone towards, in the last 12 months, has gone towards a highly successful festival in Pinoak Crescent that was a real hit, and that will be repeated later this year. And that's almost half of the funds have gone towards that particular festival, from which the whole precinct benefited. We've also built in response to another point made around that communication and the low percentage rate, and again, point taken, but we've built in the amendment a point 2 that says that there must be consultation with the members of the rated area in relation to the draft 5-year plan, and that's in direct response to some concerns around are the businesses really getting the communication flow from the Traders Association. Just 15 seconds, if I may.
15 seconds.
So, look, I take on board those more generalised comments. I think that's precisely why we've put so much work into enhancing the particular motion and agreement, and I think that we are taking on board those criticisms and putting something
Councillor
forward
Isa,
that
your time
responds
has
to
expired.
that.
Thank you. I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Adams, Councillor Bedio, Councillor Byrne, Councillor Isa, Sharp and Tyson. All those against? Councillor Nation and Councillor Sypek. I declare that carried. We now move on to item 9.7, Niddrie Special Rate Charge. Niddrie Special Rate and Charge Declaration. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Byrne.
Thanks, Mayor. I would like to move the officer's recommendation with a change that I'll read through. So for point O, letter O, Council authorises the Chief Executive Officer and/or their delegate to prepare the agreement between Council and the Chamber and the Association by which administrative arrangements in relation to the special rate are confirmed, such agreement being a precondition to the payment of any funds by Council to the Association. Council is and remains legally responsible for approving, directing and controlling the expenditure of the proceeds of the special rate in accordance with its obligations under the Act to do so. The agreement will include, but not be limited to, the following obligations for the Traders Association.
Councillor Byrne, can I stop you there? Are you okay with looking up at that? Because you can move seats potentially.
I might slide. Thanks. I think I was up to point 1, is that right?
Yes, you were.
Point 1, the Traders Association will undertake specific marketing activities that aim to benefit businesses that reside within the boundary of the special rate and charge scheme that include, bullet point 1, ensuring measurable feedback/data is kept in relation to activities and events that are delivered with special rate and charge funds. And second dot point, presenting a report on an annual basis to Council that outlines an overview of financial status and marketing activities, including metrics related to value and indicating success for the business precinct and members of the rated area. 2, the Traders Association will consult all members of the rated area in writing in relation to their draft 5-year business plan to provide an opportunity for feedback for new content and directions as part of the 5-year plan. 3, if Council gives notice that it proposes to audit, either directly or through its auditors, how the Traders Association has spent the special rate charge, it must provide all reasonable assistance to the person conducting that audit. 4, the Traders Association must keep maintained to the satisfaction of Council proper accounting records as to the manner in which it expends the proceeds of the special rate and charge, including declarations of conflicts of interest. The Traders Association adopted 5-year business plan, annual financial statement and
annual activities plan must be made available on their website or portal for its members to access and view as required. 5, council may, for any reason, terminate the agreement by giving 30 days notice to the Traders Association. The Traders Association must repay to council within 30 days of receiving a notice of termination the balance then remaining of any unexpected monies previously paid to it and provide to council a final income and expenditure report as applicable to the date of such termination. And then an additional point R, request the CEO to bring a report to council considering how best to document a communication between council and the Traders Association clarifying roles, responsibilities and expectations, including the provisions of specialised training, seminars or events that will assist traders across the municipality to manage the rising costs to business. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne, and I don't think you need to go to the optometrist after that. I think your eyesight is perfectly,
I think I do actually.
perfectly 20/20 after that. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bedio. Councillor Byrne.
Sorry, Mayor, just having a drink. I'm not sure about my eyesight, actually. I feel like I had to strain a little bit more than I probably did a few years ago anyway. Might be showing my age. Now, the Nidri Traders. I have the pleasure, obviously, of being a ward councillor along with Councillor Sypek and yourself, and have met regularly with both the Traders Association and the individual traders on the strip. And it's been quite interesting over the years, and I've seen ebbs and flows in terms of joint collaboration and disagreement. It's been interesting to hear from both the president of the Traders Association, Hamish Jones, who came in here a few weeks ago, and also business owners and landlords, property owners, speaking for and against the need of having a Traders Association. I want to acknowledge the work that Councillor Betterio and Councillor Isa did with the Flemington Traders Association, and obviously that is going to be, well, it's reciprocated here, potentially for the next report as well. I think there are a lot of benefits with Traders Associations, but I think one of the most important things is that the more the traders get involved, the better the Traders Association can be. I've seen how Traders Associations in other municipalities work, including in St Albans and their big Lunar Festival, and it can be quite amazing what can be done when everyone is on board. I understand that doesn't always happen, but I'm hoping that with these few changes, maybe we'll head more into that direction. I have, and I know a lot of people in and around Nidri have really enjoyed a lot of the activities the Traders Association have put on, whether it's the train rides at Christmas time, or their Easter Bunny, or whether it's their multicultural themed events, their Lego hunt, being able to get food at local restaurants afterwards. They do seem to be really well planned out. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with for the next few years. But it is probably just, as I mentioned before, really important that if you are a trader in this precinct, it's your voice that counts. If you're not happy with what the Traders Association are doing, I do urge you to please get involved. These groups are often looking for more members. They often want to have the voice of more traders. And they want to make sure that they're spending money to be able to promote people to come to the area. So I'm happy to move this motion. I do take note of the feedback that has come through, both good, bad and otherwise. And yes, thank you for everyone who did put in a submission as well, and for all the officers working through all this hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Councillor Bedio.
Nothing further to add, Mayor.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Councillor Nation.
Thanks, Mayor. So I'll again speak in opposition of this scheme, and point out some key figures, particularly from the stage 1 responses. So we asked property owners and businesses, do you support a renewal of the Nidri Business District special rate? 28 responses received, 14% yes, 86% no. And I'd probably caveat that by saying that the property owners were also invited to submit responses, and property owners submitting responses, even though it's their commercial property, as part of retail lease agreements, the business owner is responsible for all outgoings. So this special rate charge is pushed onto the leasee, the business owners. So by a property owner on a commercial precinct saying, yes, I'm happy with this special rate scheme, they've got no skin in the game because that goes straight to the business owner to pay. So I'd guess that of that 14%, some are property owners saying, yes, we support it, it's going to help the location of my rental property, but I'm not going to have to pay that, I'll just palm it off to the business owner, who already is going to be challenging a maximum possible rate rise that we will have passed in our draft budget. And then on top of that, we're slugging business owners, not commercial property owners who are getting all that rental payment, but business owners in an already struggling environment. We're slugging them with an extra $145,000 of rates per annum, and that is what the Niddrie Special Rate Scheme will take in the next financial year, and then add $5,000 on that, $5,000 on that, $5,000 on that. Given we just sat around about half an hour earlier and spoke about a budget that is in excess of $200 million, with what was deemed as a wish list that had a lot of sporting infrastructure spend on top of what was already in the budget, my preference would be you get rid of all the unnecessary burden on business owners, the considerable amount of officer time that is spent enacting this motion, let alone doing 2 big formal reviews that are detailed in the report, and you just go to the Traders Association, here's 100K, here's 150K, use it under these terms, and it takes away that administrative burden for council, and it takes away the headache for business owners who really, at the moment, particularly in retail shopping strips, are under a lot of stress. Can I just add...
30 second extension.
I don't need 10. This area does slightly go into Buckley Ward as well. So there are a few Buckley Ward properties, probably the biggest ratepayer. Woolies is in there, you can slug them. But the little ones maybe not so much. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Isa.
Look, just to reflect on the comments made, that look, it obviously sounds like it would be as easy as giving some traders 100 grand or 125 grand and allowing traders to spend as they wish, or I think that was, if I've interpreted properly, but I think what we've found is that there's need for this improved accountability, and that's the whole point of this motion, is that in fact it's not that simple, it's not that easy, and we need to build in some really good mechanisms to make sure that money's well spent. So yeah, I don't think it's as easy as we wish it were.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Byrne, would you like a right of reply?
Thank you, Mayor. And look, I've appreciated all input from around the chamber today. There were a few things that I wanted to touch on. Councillor Nation, you mentioned in regards to the responses, just to take note that there were 79% of people who we didn't get a response from, and that's obviously really difficult when you don't actually know whether they're yes or no. There has been a thought in council that if they don't respond with a lot of the things that we do, that everyone's that people generally object if they don't want it. So for instance, when a planning application goes up, people will object. If they don't mind that much, they just don't put in a submission. So whilst there was people in support, very few people in support, there's also 79% of people that are sitting there possibly in support that we don't actually know. The other point that I want to state in relation to that was, of the 46 responses that we received, 36 were the property owners and 10 were the business owners. So if we're looking at the actual scope of the Niddrie Traders Association,
there are a lot of businesses down there, and for only 10 of the businesses not thinking it's worthwhile, that's potentially a lot of businesses that actually really do want it. Because as I've said, that I think that the Traders Association have done a fairly good job down there. The next thing that I wanted to touch on when we're talking about, well, why don't we just put things in the budget? For people who have been down Keilor Road lately, the pavement has been torn up. It is a little bit of a mess, but it's all for a good need because there's $900,000 going into one side, repaving with asphalt, unfortunately, but repaving the streetscapes on one side. And guess what? In the draft budget, Councillor Nation, we've got capital works coming in. We've got what have we got here? We have $1.94 million into more Keilor Road streetscape improvements. That's not including the umbrellas and fences that we also put in.
Your time has
last
expired.
year.
Would you like an extension?
I would love an extension,
30
thank you.
seconds. Thank you, Councillor Byrne.
And we're also master planning your end of the for more streetscaping for Keilor Road, and I'm very mindful of the time. In terms of the improved accountability, I can't actually remember what I was going to say, but it was something on Councillor Isers and it was a good point, but thank you for those points. I hope that there is support around the chamber for these, and again, thank you for everyone's input.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that is Councillor Adams, Councillor Bedio, Councillor Byrne, Councillor Iser, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Sype. No? Councillor Tyson. All those opposed? Councillor Nation and Councillor Sypek. I declare that carried. We now move on to item 9.8, Union Road Special Rate and Charge Declaration. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Bedio.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation with an amendment. So an amendment to point O to read, and I've got this on my screen so it's a little bit easier for me.
Yep.
Council authorises the Chief Executive Officer and or their delegate to prepare the agreement between Council and the Chamber of Commerce by which administrative arrangements in relation to the special rate are confirmed, such agreement being a precondition to the payment of any funds by Council to the Chamber. Council is and remains legally responsible for approving, directing and controlling the expenditure of the proceeds of the special rate in accordance with its obligations under the Act to do so. The agreement will include, but not be limited to, the following obligations for the Chamber of Commerce.
Councillor Bedio, can I ask you to pause there for a second, just while I seek guidance? Councillor Bedio, can I just ask whether your use of Chamber of Commerce was correct or whether you wanted to...
It is incorrect. It should be Traders Association.
Thank you.
Would you like me to reread point O?
Look, I don't think that's necessary, but can you just identify, I believe you read out 3 instances of that.
All instances of a Chamber of Commerce should be Traders Association.
Thank you. Point O, you finished. Please continue.
So from the end of point O, the following obligations for the Traders Association. 1, the Traders Association will undertake specific marketing activities that aim to benefit businesses that reside within the boundary of the special rate and charge scheme that include ... ensuring measurable feedback/data is kept in relation to activities and events that are delivered with special rate and charge funds, and presenting a report on an annual basis to Council that outlines an overview of financial status and marketing activities, including metrics related to value and indicating success for the business precinct and members of the rated area. 2, the Traders Association will consult all members of the rated area in writing in relation to their draft 5-year business plan to provide an opportunity for feedback for new content and directions as part of the 5-year plan. If Council gives notice that it proposes to audit, either directly or through its auditors, how the Traders Association has spent the special rate and charge, it must provide all reasonable assistance to the person conducting that audit. The Traders Association must keep and maintain to the satisfaction of Council proper accounting records as to the manner in which it expends the proceeds of the special rate and charge, including declarations of conflicts of interest. The Traders Association adopted 5-year business plan, annual financial statement and annual activities plan must be made available on their website or portal for its members to access and view as required. Council may, for any reason, terminate the agreement by giving 30 days notice to the Traders Association. The Traders Association must repay to Council within 30 days of receiving a notice of termination the balance then remaining of any unexpended monies previously paid to it and provide Council a final income and expenditure report as applicable to the date of such termination. Also, including a new point R, requests the CEO to bring a report to Council considering how to best document a communication between Council and the Traders Association, clarifying roles, responsibilities and expectations, including the provision of specialised training, seminars or events that will assist traders across the municipality to manage the rising costs to business.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio, and acknowledging that you were editing on the run in your head, reading out there, so thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Isa. Councillor Bedio.
Thank you, Mayor. And look, to start with, foreshadowing, I suppose, the previous motions that were before us for the previous Trades Associations and Chamber of Commerce, I have to concur with a lot of the comments from Councillor Nation. I had a lot of concerns coming into this discussion about the usefulness and the support for Traders Associations in our community. The feedback that I've gotten from a lot of the traders is that Traders Associations aren't what they used to be. This is particularly prevalent in Niddrie. I know I'm talking about Union Road in this instance, but I think given that we're talking about all three of them tonight, it's relevant to talk about them like that. But the general overview and the general consensus or the feedback I've received is that Traders Associations aren't what they used to be, and perhaps that's a condition of COVID, but there was a concept that Traders Associations used to be a lot more involved in their traders' communities. They used to run a lot more events. However, from delving a little bit deeper into this, I can't help but feel that Council are partly to blame for this. I feel that there's a lot more that we can do to ensure that Traders Associations have more autonomy in order to implement the business plans, because the business plans that they put forward to us are fantastic, and if they realise the goals in their business plans, it's only going to benefit the traders significantly in promoting their districts. But in order for them to do that, the trade associations need the autonomy, and they also need the ability to communicate with Council and have Council communicate back with them about the things that they've identified. And that can be simple things like maintaining paths, cleaning, maintaining plants and seeding, graffiti. But there is a common issue or a trend, a common piece of feedback I've received from the Trade Association is that they find it really difficult to get through to our officers or to implement some of the changes or some of the feedback that they've received. And what happens is the traders then get frustrated with the Traders Association because they don't see these things being done, when in reality it's not actually their job. So the job of the Traders Association is to promote the growth of that local area through marketing. So as part of the amendments that Councillor Isa and I and Council officers have worked through was to request the CEO bring a report back to consider how best to document that communication and the responsibilities between each respective party. And I really hope that when that report comes back, it's something that's actionable and that will support our traders associations to become more autonomous. Another piece of feedback that really came through was the concerns around the transparency and the expenditure of what is essentially public money. And as council, we are requesting that businesses, and largely businesses, you correct, Council Nation, under the Retail Leases Act 2003, it's the obligation of the retail businesses to pay the rates on behalf of the owner. So yes, it is. You're correct. It is businesses that are largely responsible for the payment of rates. So these charges do impact on the businesses themselves and not the landowner. So as council collecting that money on behalf of the Traders Association, it's really important that we here at council know that the money is being spent with high standards of probity that we would expect for rates that we collect in our organisation. So that is another point that we've incorporated, or points that we've amended to point 0 to ensure there's greater transparency in the expenditure of the rates, of the special rates collection. I guess I just want to touch on Councillor Burns' point that traders associations are only as effective as the involvement of their members, and that seems to be something that has declined quite rapidly over the last couple of years. But what I would encourage is that all traders in Niddrie to really get behind the Traders Association and see what you can do to get involved and how you can help. Unfortunately, the Traders Associations are hamstrung when only a couple of businesses want to get involved in events. If we can get more of the businesses along the journey to consult on the business plans, which we have put forward, so the Traders Association will need to consult with businesses and all businesses to really get their feedback on the 5-year plans. Sorry, there's quite a lot to discuss on this one, really looking at it. I do also want to highlight, I guess, my concerns with the consultation process for this special rate. I believe there was more that we could do here at Council to really get the feedback from businesses. And I think when it's something as important as this, it really deserves at least a door-knocking approach. A lot of businesses don't actually accept mail to their premises. They likely have a PO box. Different for the landowners. Council has records of all landowners because they're the ones registered for the rates. Businesses are not the case. So there could be potentially there could be an issue with us sending letters out and the low rate of business replies because businesses don't actually accept mail to their retail addresses. And so really I would like to see in future with subsequent special rate declarations for trade associations, Chamber of Commerce, that we actually...
Councillor Bedia, your time has expired. Do you require an extension?
Yes, please.
30 seconds, thank you.
That Council really goes out and door knocks and speaks to businesses and tries to get a more qualitative response from businesses. We want to be able to work with our businesses and be able to work in their best interests. Also, one quick point is we have included that the CEO bring back a report on ways that we can support businesses to deal with the rising cost of doing business that's largely been incurred through inflation. So look forward to reading that report when it comes back, should this motion be supported by my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. Councillor Isa, would you like to speak?
Yeah, look, just to make a couple of quick comments to thank the Union Road Traders Association, Merrin and Co, who do an amazing job at running events and really throughout the year they have a whole series of marketing for the traders, and I think it's working really well in Union Road. I also just wanted to note that in point F, we're actually, in response to some feedback received from traders, there is a revised boundary for the Union Road Traders Association, which is really important. And so we have taken on board that feedback that some of the extremities of Union Road well, perhaps it's better to pull back a little bit, and so anyone who's interested in the revised boundary can see that in the attachments to the agenda for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Would any councillor like to speak? Councillor Nation.
Thanks, Mayor. I definitely take on board Councillor Bedio's point about the consultation, sending letters through Australia Post. One is flawed because a lot of retail businesses don't have a post box on their property, might be slid under the door. And as Councillor Bedio well knows, when you're a retail business owner, those envelopes pile up that some council message asking for your input might not necessarily get priority against your impending bills that are going to cut off your gas because your business is up against the wall, particularly after 2 years of COVID, if you've managed to maintain your retail tenancy, and the landlords that are responding to this survey on your behalf who have kept your retail rates, rental the same, and you're still paying all their outgoings, it probably mightn't be a priority to reply to something that you're not quite aware of. So that consultation from council is really important. This one in particular really struck me because the 22 responses against, it's a really depressing and harrowing read. The comments from those who do not support the renewal of the Union Road District Special Rate. Pages 42, 43 and 44 and 45 are real business owners in our area voicing their displeasure about this extra charge and the lack of value. And a lot of them have gone into significant detail, 4 pages worth, and like, it is really depressing. People are doing it tough. People who have taken out business leases potentially before COVID, not knowing that, particularly in Ascot Vale, they were going to have 2 years of lockdowns. It is, we should be doing more to support them rather than just slugging them with an extra charge that they're not feeling like they're not getting any value from. in contrary to those 4 pages of comments opposing the levy, there are 5 lines supporting it. That's it. I support the levy. I support the rate. I support the rate and would like council to be great support for businesses on Union Road. Support the special rate. The activities help the street feel vibrant. Support for I love Union Road promotions and coordinated marketing. 5 sentences in support, 4 pages of business owners pouring their hearts out saying, council, do not burden us with $375,000 of extra rates on our already highly rateable commercial property that we have to pay on behalf of the landlords for the next 5 years. It's just not something I can support. There has to be a better way of doing this. The administrative burden on council is extreme, and the hurt and pain on business owners in our
30-second
municipality...
extension, Councillor
Thank
Nation.
you. The hurt and pain on business owners in our municipality, those that actually knew the survey was there, poured out over 4 pages of this report, gives me enough of a direction to say, I'm not supporting this. Maybe there's another way of doing it. Maybe it's a council contribution, whatever it may be. Maybe it's an organic ratepayers association or traders association. But yeah, for me, I'm not supporting this.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Byrne.
Thanks, I will. And Councillor Nation touched on this. One of the things that for me jumped out at me was that we've obviously had 3 that have come through tonight, but this one was slightly different because in terms of the responses, 8 were from property owners and 16 responses were from the business owners, and there were 5 unidentified. So that differs to, for instance, when I spoke about Nidru before, there were 36 property owners and 10 business owners, and then in Flemington there was 15 property owners and 3 business owners. This one actually has a lot of the business owners saying no as opposed to the property owners, if I'm sort of speaking around in circles a little bit. And yes, they were fairly detailed. And I'm mindful though, as well, as I have said before, that there were a lot of people who didn't respond. And I think that we need to make sure when we do one of these, we do it better and we really try to get a response from everyone. I think that will give us a much better data because we don't know why people aren't responding. It's really nice to say that we're assuming that they're a yes, but let's be honest, we've all opened sort of mail and not sort of, sort of thought it's fait accompli, that it's, oh, this is what's happening, as opposed to actually this is where I really need to have my say. In terms of where I'm sitting with this, I think there's already been some thoughts from, so you'll get your rebuttal, Councillor Bedio, regardless of whether or not I support it. But perhaps this one I possibly would have thought that maybe there would have been a slightly different motion somehow. I'm not exactly sure how that would look, but maybe this one could have been the one that was a little bit different and not just following the same for all of the reports that are coming through and just doing the same thing. This one probably would have been the one that I possibly would have considered doing something slightly different too. So, yeah, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, Councillor Bedio, would you like a right of reply?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Look, I do share the same concerns as Councillor Nation and Councillor Byrne in many respects. The alternative that we have before us would be essentially to say no, which would result in the disbandment of the Traders Association, which is an association that's been continuing for quite some time, and my concern would be that level of organisation wouldn't be able to be redeveloped for a while. And whilst as a business owner myself, I completely acknowledge the impact and the impost to businesses, especially in this current cost of living crisis that we're experiencing at the moment. I am concerned about the concept of having the Traders Association disbanded and what potential impacts that might have to businesses in that area. As we know here at Council, we're very limited with our funds for things such as festivals and events, but that is something that is echoed through the community as something that's very valued, and that's something that traders associations can deliver through their own fiscal means. And my perspective, and through the amendments that I've put forward and worked with Councillor Isa and officers, is to try and offer the Traders Association more autonomy to be able to run those sort of events and those sort of promotions that will really bring people to the area. I do think the branding that they have is important, their marketing is important. Can it be done better? Absolutely. I think there can be a lot of improvements, particularly down in Union Road, and that's not lost on me. But at this point, I don't think that it is warranted to disband that association. I would rather give the opportunity for the association to do more and to do better and to represent their traders and to really be an advocate for the traders. We have put, I'll seek a short extension, please, Mayor.
30-second extension.
We have put in provisions to ensure that the Traders Association are kept honest on their 5-year plan. Council has the opportunity to intervene if in any case we think that the funds are being misspent or that there is a majority of dissatisfaction amongst traders. So we do have that stop mechanism put in place now, which I think is really important. And it will be something I'm going to keep a close eye on. I want to make sure that traders are really getting a bang for buck here across all 3 of the regions that we've looked at tonight. Because I do agree it is a really hard one for me. I see both sides, but my concern is if we disband the Traders Association, we'll never see it again, and we're never going to see the potential benefits that it might have in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's Councillor Adams, Bedio, Isa, Sharp, Tyson. All those against? Councillors Byrne, Nation and Sypek. I declare that carried. We now move on to item 9.9, future greyhound off-leash dog park opportunities. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Nation.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to move an alternative that reads: the Council resolves to 1. Note the findings of this report, 2. Progress to a feasibility study for a greyhound-only off-leash area in Moonee Valley, to be presented to an ordinary meeting of Council as soon as practicable, exploring the following options with an aim to construct in the 2024-25 financial year. A. Greyhound-only off-leash area at Collier Park, Strathmore Heights, Bent Street Reserve, Moonee Ponds or Ian-J McWilliams Reserve, Essendon West. B. Greyhound slipping track at Collier Park, Strathmore Heights, Moore Road, Airport West or Moonee Valley Racing Club, Moonee Ponds. 3. Continue to advocate to the state government, any relevant legislative council members and any relevant bodies or organisations to support and advocate for this project.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. And governance in point 2, Councillor Nation read out ordinary meeting of council. Or ordinary council meeting, sorry.
Sorry, I'm reading an old motion to be presented at a meeting of council as soon as practical. Ordinary meetings don't exist.
Thank you.
Thank you for picking that up. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor
Yes,
Nation. Is there a seconder? Councillor Sharp. Councillor Nation.
Thanks, Mayor. And look, when I moved this original notice of motion, I had words and a speech prepared, and I haven't tonight. So let me just flesh out some of the details of the report and this alternative, which looks at next steps. And I first of all want to really thank the organisation and the officers for doing some excellent work on this report, which is not a report that you can really source any material from any council other than potentially those in Tasmania that have done it, because this proposal is looking for Moonee Valley to be the home of Victoria's first greyhound-only off-leash area. So there is not that many reference points for officers to compile a report, and therefore seeking the relevant legislation, advice from Animal Welfare Victoria, and the ever-changing rules, even to what is a racing greyhound compared to a retired greyhound, and there are obviously a they are considered different, I hate to use the word commodities, but different commodities in terms of the legislation. A greyhound that's for the purpose of racing is not a pet. A greyhound that is retired is a pet. So there are a whole range of different pieces of legislation and material that officers had to get their head around before even then looking at our city and if this is something that is possible within our city. What the report did find is that there are probably three main options. One is to create a designated greyhound off-leash area, which is an area where a number of greyhounds can be legally off-lead. It can't be a conventional dog park because greyhounds are fast and they also can't see things that are about their knee height, and so it needs to be a predominantly flat area without that much furniture for them to run into. Many greyhounds don't have a recall feature as well, so it's important that the fences are a little bit higher and visible to them. The second option is a greyhound slipping track, and you would have seen in the report that there are a number of slipping tracks in Victoria. They are predominantly for coursing and training greyhounds, and most of the people that adopt a retired greyhound are against greyhound racing, so it's sort of counterintuitive to have to go to a place where they torture dogs to race them to let your pet exercise, and therefore taking out a membership, and most of them are membership based of course as well, taking out a membership to a greyhound racing club that is responsible for the death of thousands and thousands of greyhounds every year, just so your pet greyhound that you've rescued can then exercise off leash. It just doesn't seem right. The third option was integrating a greyhound area into existing dog parks, but as I mentioned before, based on the surfaces and the furniture within a traditional dog park, that's just not practical. The options presented in the report have been picked up here, looking at 6 different options that there potentially can be a greyhound only off-leash area. It's not saying a greyhound off-leash area and a slipping track. There's 6 options for us to progress, noting that in the past we have had some dog park venues that the residents around have been really thrilled about, but it also might be amenity issues putting a dog park in some areas. So there are some areas that are probably going to be a better pick for council, and we don't know that until we work out if it's actually feasible and if there is resident support through consultation. Look, I would note the report does pick up a slipping track option at Moonee Valley Racing Club, and I obviously have spoken about the hesitation in many greyhound owners of taking their pet greyhounds to any sort of racing facility. The officers have done some work on it. I didn't want to deny any option within the report, but I would caveat the inclusion of that by just saying that probably is a broader piece of work we need to do if the purpose of this facility would be fulfilled on land that is designated for racing, and I obviously have my reservations there. May I have 30 seconds of your time?
30-second extension.
For us as a council, this is a project obviously I'm quite passionate about. Having a pet greyhound, 2 pet greyhounds, and having had another pet greyhound previously that has brought me plenty of love and accompaniment, even in my mayoral time. My dog Jewel had a mat in the mayor's office, which I thought was the first until I found out Councillor Byrne used to sneak her dog in here every so often. Pets give us plenty of joy, plenty of love. One of the things that greyhounds can't do is exercise off leash, and maybe we can be the first city to do so. Thanks,
Thank you, Councillor Nation. Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mayor. Certainly very happy to support this motion. I remember 5 or 6 years ago now when we were consulting and looking at building the Alf Pierce Dog Park, there was talk then about having potentially a dedicated area for greyhounds, or dedicated space for greyhounds. And at the time, the Alf Pierce Dog Park was the first dedicated dedicated off-leash area that this council's ever been able to achieve. So we can certainly achieve a similar outcome for greyhounds, I have no doubt, and I'm certainly happy to support it. I think it's really important. I think the demand from the community is definitely there. So certainly happy to look at all the different options, and I really look forward to seeing where we go. So well done, Councillor Nation. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Would any other councillor like to speak to this motion? Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll also support this motion, and I do know there is demand out there in the community. I guess I never really knew much about greyhounds actually until Councillor Nation. I befriended Jewel and got to learn a lot about greyhounds and how beautiful they are as pets, particularly in small spaces as well. So the ownership rates, I think, in Moonee Valley are quite high. I see, lots of people walking their greyhounds around, so very happy to support this, and I agree with Councillor Sharp. I think it will be a very popular attraction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Well, my family, we're more pussycat family rather than dog, and I haven't had much to do with greyhounds except when Councillor Nation was mayor, and he had to do a speech, and he's sort of looking around to see who could hold him and hold her. And I just walked up and started, rubbing her and on the face and everything, and his jaw nearly dropped because he reckons this dog doesn't respond too well to people. And here I am, I'm cuddling her and everything, and he just couldn't believe the way she just sort of took to me. And like I said, I didn't realise what temperament they were or whatever. I just saw her as another dog. And then I got to learn more about greyhounds, and then these rescue greyhounds. We've got a rescue pussycat ourselves, and look, it's wonderful rescuing animals, and I fully support what Councillor Nation's doing, and I gave him the idea of having a slip lane at Moonee Valley Racetrack. I thought that would probably be a great idea, but probably won't come to fruition. Who knows?
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Isa.
Sorry, can I just ask a point of clarification first? Aim to construct in the 2024-25 financial year, is the intention to construct A and B, or is it A or B?
As Councillor Nation said in his speaking notes, that there were six options rather than both being implemented.
So it's one of. Yeah.
Councillor Nation, do you have anything to add? Yes.
No, I addressed that in my debate for a greyhound-only off-leash area, so that'd be one of them. So the idea is, so there is one.
Councillor Isa, do you have an additional point of clarification?
So the motion says to feasibility study to be presented with an aim to construct A.
Sorry, can I clarify, Councillor Isa, is this a point of clarification, or are you speaking to
No, it's fine. If you use up my time, that's fine. I'm speaking to it. I'm just not quite clear how B. So the motion says to progress a feasibility study for an off-leash area, which is A. So I'm just not quite sure what we're doing with B, whether we're doing a feasibility study for B, or whether B is just kind of sitting by itself is my problem with the motion. It's not like I'm supportive of the motion. I just.
You need me to answer?
No, because I'm just speaking. It's fine. You can maybe in right of reply or something. Maybe that's the easiest way to just address my confusion about that. I'm very supportive of the motion, though. I just have been a bit confused by that. Look, we all loved Jewel, and we all love the new guys too. So the greyhound, the council greyhounds are, emblematic of the affection that we all have, I think, for greyhounds and dogs in general. So supportive of us looking into this, absolutely, as to how we might be able to provide for animal welfare in this way. I do, and perhaps if I voice this as some degree of dissent so that you might have an opportunity to have a right of reply so that you can answer my other point of confusion. I do note in the report some cautions around some of the risks that are associated, and that Geelong City Council and Manningham City Council, who have a slip track, and Geelong City Council, who've been looking into it, have both sort of expressed some concerns around the liabilities and the risks, and that does pose for councils some concerns, and Manningham seems to have found a solution to that by having a third-party operator to take on that risk, I assume, whereas Geelong has actually said, look, the risk is too great, we don't want to get involved in that. So I certainly don't mind us exploring that and don't see the risk as an impediment, but I do think it's one of those things we have to watch carefully and make sure that we find the right mechanisms to deal with that public liability issue that's noted in the report. But look, that said, I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes back, and thanks for putting it forward.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. And just for the sake of clarification, although picking up sort of what you were asking, while it could be more explicitly clear, I agree and governance agrees with Councillor Nation's explanation of the 6 options that he described in his speaking. Would any other councillor like to speak? As there has been slight dissent, I will ask Councillor Nation whether he would like to close.
Thanks, Mayor. I will. Look, I'll just address a couple of points. I think the City of Greater Geelong's exploration into this is a typical, I guess, public service response of something's too hard, let's not bother doing it. They actually failed to pick up the difference, and it is doable, the difference between what is a coursing hound and what is a pet greyhound. So the idea that they could potentially be a liability within a specially designed area for greyhounds, in theory is no different to Elf Pierce being a liability if another dog mauls another dog, and being a liability on council if at Elf Pierce one dog mauls another dog, or a dog runs into the rock and kills itself, etc. So I think one time at this council I was told that we had to align sports fields a certain way because there was a 1 in 20 year chance that an errant ball could hit a car driving by and that could injure a passenger, and subsequently we can't have sports fields running a certain direction. Yeah, you remember that. That didn't last long. So there is always risk in anything you do, but there are municipalities like Launceston that have proven it is possible. It just takes a little bit of extra research, and I'm glad our officers have done that. Secondly, in regards to your point, the report details that for a greyhound off-leash area, there are 3 options. Option 1 is a greyhound off-leash area. Option 2 is a greyhound slipping track. Option 3 is a greyhound off-leash area integrated into an existing dog park. Now, those 3 options sit under the subheader, greyhound only off-leash area. Even though one of those options is the same word as that subheader, they would be the 3 options within what is possible in a greyhound only off-leash area.
30-second extension to Councillor Nation's time.
So I'm just picking up the language and headings within the report and the particular notice of motion terminology. So the options for a greyhound off-leash area are either A, a greyhound off-leash area, B, a greyhound slipping track, or C, which is what we're not exploring, the integration with an existing dog park. In both of those options, A and B, that sit under the title greyhound only off-leash area, there are 3 options we're exploring for ultimately having one facility within the municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously.
Thank you.
We now move on to item 10, notices of motion. Before we start the item, it's nearing 10 o'clock. Councillors, you've been working for 4 hours. Do you require a break at this point? No? Thank you. In that case, I will start item 10, notices of motion, and we have one listed on the agenda. And under 10.1, I call on Councillor Sharp to present her notice of motion titled Notice of Motion number 2023/19, Lebanon Reserve Master Plan.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council resolves to request the Chief Executive Officer to bring a report to a Council meeting in August 2023 regarding developing a master plan for Lebanon Reserve Strathmore. This will include, but not be limited to, the process involved, timeframe and estimated cost.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bedio. Councillor Sharp.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. This is pretty self-explanatory. We have never done a master plan for Lebanon Reserve, which incorporates Strathmore Football Club and Strathmore Cricket Club. And the clubs would really like to see a master plan for the site for various reasons. But they've asked me to bring this to council, and hence I have. And it's obviously asking for a report so we can find out more about the process in detail, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Councillor Bedio.
Not much further to add. I think this is a great motion. Thanks, Councillor Sharp, for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. And I just want to say thank you to Councillor Sharp for bringing this. It's really, really great, and I'm very happy to support it. And thank you.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Nation.
Yes, happy to support. Sorry, Councillor Sharp. I was having a breather. I didn't even realise you were moving the motion. So I feel bad that no ward councillor seconded it. It definitely wasn't because we're not in support. We just, I just completely switched off. It's odd that it doesn't have a master plan, because we have master plans for many things. And I would hope that should this get up and should a master plan process be delivered, that it's something that we as councillors can be quite pragmatic with, in terms of developing a master plan where the projects are realistic. Like you can consult for a master plan, and I look at the Maribyrnong River Master Plan, which has 8 precincts and 4 sub-precincts, and we've probably done about half a page of work. So I think in the master plan process, we look to put a realistic budget on work, and also look at what are the core deliverables. And you might have the extra things that would be, great if we're in a good position, but to prioritise those works would be something that would at least give the clubs a bit of surety and guidance as well. But the fact that we don't have one, and that it is a significant playing area that borders a natural reserve, I think it's very important that we kick off the process. So thank you, Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Sharp, would you like to close? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Item 11 is urgent business. Councillors, do we have any urgent business? If not, we will move on to item 12, confidential reports. We have 2 this evening. Item 12.1, Audit and Risk Committee Governance. Item 12.1 contains confidential information relating to F, personal information, being information which, if released, would result in the unreasonable disclosure of information about any person or their personal affairs, as it contains an application with confidential personal information. 12.2, to endorse a council position on the separate glass recycling funding offer. Item 12.2 contains confidential information relating to A, council business information, being information that would prejudice the council's position in commercial negotiations if prematurely released, and G, private commercial information, being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that I, relates to trade secrets, as it contains confidential grant information. Councillors, I need a mover and seconder that Council resolves to close the meeting to the public pursuant to Section 66(2) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider the aforementioned items. Councillors, do I have a mover? Councillor Adams, and a seconder? Councillor Bedio. I'll put that to the vote. That's carried. That's carried unanimously. So this is where we say goodnight to members of the public. Thank you for joining us this evening for our special draft budget meeting. I think, in my opinion, far more interesting than the federal government federal budget, which occurred at the same time. But thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. I close the meeting to the public at 10:03. Thanks for joining us.